Jennifer O'Brien, a busy mom with 3 young boys, went to pick up her 5-year-old son Nathan from his grandparents' house in Calgary, Canada.
He always wanted to hang out with Grandma or sleep over at Grandma's house, and they had a lot of fun together.
When Jennifer arrives, the front door is open. What she sees inside is horrifying.
There was blood all over the beds, on the walls, on the floor. There were bloody footprints in the hallway. There was drag marks. There was a little handprint on the way out, as if a little boy was being kind of dragged along and had put his hand against the wall to brace himself.
A hysterical Jennifer calls police.
She must have been terrified.
They told her to stay in her car with the door locked because they were afraid that there potentially might be someone still in the house.
Cops burst into the gruesome scene and feverishly search the house. But no bodies are found. The grandparents and little Nathan are missing.
I think police were hoping that they had been kidnapped and were being held somewhere.
An Amber Alert is issued in hopes of locating the family, as police double down searching twice for the 5-year-old in the blood-soaked house.
They'd hoped that maybe he saw the violence and had hidden somewhere. So they went through all the closets, under the beds, anywhere that anyone could hide. He wasn't there.
Nathan O'Brien, an adorable blonde mop-topped boy who loves superheroes.
Nathan, how old are you today?
5.
The grandparents, Alvin and Kathy Liknes, were special to Nathan.
When my mom would show up at the door, Nathan would run, literally run to her and hug her and love her, and they were just so bonded.
Despite pools of blood at the home, seasoned detectives still held out hope that the missing family might be found alive.
Police had a number of news conferences, finally told us that a violent assault had happened in the home.
But who was the crazed killer? Cops analyzed hundreds of hours of surveillance video.
They found this green, like mid-70s Ford F-150 truck, very distinctive looking.
Once a photo of the truck is released, they get a call from a woman who said she recognized the vehicle. It belonged to her brother.
So the sister turned him in.
She did.
The owner of that truck, a man named Doug Garland. They nab him at a traffic stop and hold him on a previous false identity charge.
He was always very quiet and didn't reveal anything to the police.
Meanwhile, Canadian Mounties storm the 40-acre farm where Garland lives with his elderly parents.
When the police search his house, what do they find?
Well, they go through the house initially, and they don't really find anything.
They do notice a burn barrel smoldering near the greenhouse, but inside, nothing but ash.
There's no blood, there's no sign of any evidence.
Garland is released on bail and given strict instructions not to go back to the farm. But armed with a warrant for the property, cops soon discover a computer hard drive hidden in the basement rafters.
And that's when all the House of Horrors stuff starts coming out. He downloaded a bunch of things like attack your victims at like 3 o'clock in the morning, that the element of surprise, and painful ways to torture.
The hard drive was also filled with images of his alleged sexual obsessions.
What's the fetish part?
Well, he had quite a fetish about adult diapers. And there were a number of pictures of men and women being restrained, perhaps killed, wearing adult diapers.
Cops also seized boxes filled with weapons. Handcuffs, some in a child's size, hacksaw blades, leather straps, bone saws, knives, guns, and a straitjacket. But no bodies are found. Police take another look at that smoldering burn barrel. It pays off. In the ashes, they find a baby tooth, bone fragments, and more gruesome remains.
They found the burnt flesh and a lot of the bone fragments in the embers of the burning barrel.
Was Garland a sadistic killer? Cops soon learn he's no stranger to Alvin and Kathy Liknes.
It was just a very strange set of circumstances on how they actually all became acquainted.
Garland is related by marriage to the Liknes family. Alvin Liknes, a successful entrepreneur, had employed Garland years before.
He was fairly handy, and he wasn't doing anything.
The two men worked on a pump invention together, but the project never went anywhere, and Liknes eventually fired Garland.
Apparently, Doug Garland was angry and bitter over it for years.
Incriminating evidence piles up, and cops train a close eye on the 57-year-old following his every move. Here he's caught on surveillance camera buying what looks like circular saw blades, but just as investigators are about to make their move to nab their suspect,
the police were looking for him.
Did Doug go on the run?
Searches of Doug Garland's residence led police to one conclusion. He was the man who killed the Liknes and grandson Nathan O'Brien. But just as cops were ready for an arrest, Garland had disappeared.
Was he a fugitive at any time?
He was.
Fortunately, not for long. Cops eventually catch Garland trying to sneak back on the farm, which he had been warned not to do.
The belief was he was trying to get rid of maybe a little more evidence that was there, perhaps the drive of the computer.
His arrest captured by police helicopter's infrared camera.
You could see him hiding in the bushes, and he knew this land because he lived there.
Despite that, Garland pleaded not guilty to 3 murder charges.
There's so much evidence here that a movie of the week would not buy it.
At the trial, prosecutors tell the jury that Garland held a years-long grudge against Alvin Liknes over a patent for a pump.
He had let simmer for years, and then, years later, he finally acted on it.
Prosecutors say Garland preyed on his victims according to his meticulous and obsessive research.
Mr. Garland went into Alvin Liknes's bedroom and bludgeoned him. Then he went to the next room where Kathy Liknes was sleeping with her grandson.
And was Nathan, the little 5-year-old, do you think he was also a target?
I don't believe he was a target, but since he's 5 years old and he's a witness, he decided that he didn't want to leave any witnesses.
Forensic experts believe the family was alive when Garland dragged them from the home and shoved them in the truck, driving about 20 miles to his parents' rural farm. There, unspeakable horrors awaited. Nathan and his grandparents' DNA were found on instruments of torture.
Where was the meat hook found, and what evidence was on that?
They found Kathy Liknes's DNA on that. They found Alvin Liknes and Nathan O'Brien's DNA on the meat saw, and they found DNA from all 3 victims on the outside of a pair of rubber boots.
Perhaps one of the most disturbing images presented at trial, pictures captured completely by chance by a mapping plane which flew over Garland's property the day after the family disappeared.
He can see what appears to be 2 headless torsos of adults and a small figure in the grass next to them. They believe was Nathan O'Brien, right by the burning barrel.
The only proof of their existence on the planet buried in the ashes left behind in the burn barrel.
He sat through the first round of hearings and the second, taking notes. We never heard a denial. We never heard a "I'm sorry."
None of the victims' families took the stand, but Nathan's dad's written words reverberated through the courtroom.
Rod O'Brien, when he did a victim impact statement, basically said that I didn't even have enough of my son to bury. There was not enough left of him.
After weeks of traumatizing testimony, Doug Garland is convicted of first-degree murder in all 3 deaths.
They've lost Kathy, they've lost Alvin, and they've lost Nathan. This decision doesn't change that. They still have to grieve.
Now the only solace for Jennifer and Rod are the memories they share of their little superhero, Nathan.
Nathan had started asking me at nighttime what heaven was like, which is kind of a strange question coming from a 5-year-old. And say, well, You can fly around and have like a superhero. There's no night times. You can play all the time. He goes, well, I'm going to welcome you into heaven, Dad. You guys.